Well, when it comes to the big questions in life, some questions that for you might be very small, such as, where do you come from? For me, it's a bit complicated. In the early 1990s, as I was starting college, I went to visit my grandparents in Israel. While I was there, the Gulf War began. We all went in a bunk. I had to wear gas masks. There was bombs falling nearby. I could hear them. We could feel the tremble under our feet. And they had to ration our food. After 3 days of that, I finally got back to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, to my life. And as I went back to college, and I was back into my job, and I was back with my friends and family, I felt empty. Nothing was there. I felt disconnected. Everything felt meaningless. So when a friend of a friend of a friend told me about this little shack in the middle of nowhere, 4 hours from civilization, that I could live as a hermit, I took it. I got my car, left a note for my parents, and there I was, in the middle of nowhere. To get there, you had to make sure the tide was low, and you went on the sand of the beach, and you walked for about 2 miles, and then you got to my little shack. There was no electricity, no running water, and no espresso machines. That was really sad. 1 mile to my right, I had a neighbor. 1 mile to my left, I had a neighbor. The one on my left, near the road, he had a little family. And every morning, when the sun was rising, I could see his bouncy walk down the beach. And he'd come to me and say, "Que dia bonito! What a beautiful day! This is gonna be a beautiful day. The sun is shining, and there is raindrops of sunshine on the sea, and there is abundance everywhere, and there will be fish. Would you like a fish?" And as an old record player, I would say, "No, thank you, I'm still a vegetarian." And he'll go in his merry way, bouncing the other way down the beach. A couple of hours later, my neighbor on the right would come by. And he'll come smoking a cigarette, a little distraught. And he'll come to me and say, "Well, this is gonna be a hot one. It's gonna be really bad. It's scorching, it's so hot. I'm gonna have to find a way to get out of here. Did you notice the pollution? Look at how much trash came in here today. This is ridiculous. The world is ending, and it's not coming fast enough." And then we sat there talking about how the whole human race was doomed, and there was nothing for us to do here in this world, and of course, how there was not one coffee shop in the town nearby. And then we would stop procrastinating enough, and he would say, "Do you want some fish? I'm gonna finally get to my job." And I would say, "No, obrigada, I'm still vegetarian." And he would leave. And throughout my time there, I met some people throughout the peninsula as I was trying to make my life there as an artist. I met some folks, not a lot, but a dozen, I'd say. And my depression just stayed with me and never left until one night I was in such a terrible state. It was so dark. I was in that little shack with my little candle, and I decided to put in my cassette player Strange Days by The Doors. The cassette is playing. I'm in this debate about the meaningless of life. What's the point to stay in this world? And suddenly I look back, and hundreds of cockroaches are coming through my window. I look to the little door near the kitchen, and hundreds of cockroaches are coming under the door. I panic. There is 2 exits. One, I'm gonna swim with the sharks in the middle of the night and try to find my way 1 mile down the sea to the road. Or I'm gonna hide under my bed, under my mosquito net, on my bed, under my mosquito bed, and wait, see what happens. So I choose the latter. I go on my bed, under my mosquito net. I make sure I have my cassette player and my candle. I sit down. First of all, I change the tape. I'm thinking the cockroach cockroaches think it's a cockroach party. And I decided that if I put a new age tape, which I have never heard before, I was avoiding that at all costs, they would realize that this is a boring house and they will leave. So then I sat down, I blew out the candle, and I began my meditation. And I started, okay, the cockroaches don't know I'm here. I have found the darkest place of my soul, and I probably vanished energetically. And I have to find a way to return. And slowly I start imagining I am a guava flower. And as I unwrinkle one petal and another, I start to release slowly my grievances against the world. I slowly let go of my grievance about the Holocaust and the loss of my ancestors. And then I unwrinkle another petal and I let go of the grievance I have against the colonization of the Native Americans and my African roots. And then I unwrinkle another petal and I realize I can let go of my inner colonialist. And then I finally starts releasing my grievances against plastic and against pollution and against war and against being a human, which at that point I hated it. And slowly, slowly I start to unwrinkle and this inner light starts to open up. And the cassette changes to side B at that point. And I start to have some hope again. And I start to think maybe I can tell the cockroaches that they have to go, that this is where I belong, and they don't belong here if I belong here. And so I sat there for the other side of the tape, telling the cockroaches with my energetical mind that I was this guava flower and they didn't belong there. And slowly as I open and open and open, the cassette tape finished and it turned off. This is the moment I had to figure out if my meditation worked. Now, I decided with myself if the cockroaches kept coming in for a whole hour, in the same amount, in the same rate, they would be covering the whole mosquito net. But if they heard my message, they would be gone. It's a true story. I turn on my candlestick. I look up, no cockroaches. I slowly open the net and look under the bed, no cockroaches. Okay, I get out of my bed. I look in the living room, no cockroaches. I go to the kitchen, no cockroaches. I open the window, up, down in the ocean. And the moon is starting to rise and the tide is starting to recede. So I went to the kitchen and started lentil soup. I decided this is a turn of a new leaf, and lentils in Brazil means good luck for a good new year. This for me was a new year, of course. I'm beginning again. I make this huge, bag of lentils, and slowly, as the moon comes all the way up to the sky, and the tide is very low, I see coming down the beach a friend. Coming down, hey Giselle, how are you doing? What a beautiful night. Can I come in? I'm like, yeah, guess what? I have lentil soup. Then 2 more people came, and then 3, and then 4. And then suddenly everyone I have ever met in that peninsula, true story, came to my house. I couldn't believe it. We were celebrating life without ever have planned it. And as we were sitting down there, everybody sitting on my floor, where the cockroaches were there like some hours ago, they look at me and say, come on, Giselle, tell us a story. So I get a book and I start reading a story. And slowly, they fall asleep. I have never slept with so many people in my life. And I'm sitting there and I take a deep breath. And I feel like I belonged. I feel like I'm here. It's okay. And I start to think about this big question. Where do I come from? And as I'm sitting there thinking about that, and as I moved on with my life and had to wrinkle and unwrinkle many times my soul, at this point when people ask me, well, where do you come from? I feel a little bit more comfortable to telling you that it's a bit complicated. Thank you.